All right, good morning, traders. Today is July 16th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor for the day trading service at Hit and Run Candlesticks called BYOB Trading. Hey, let's go take a look at some charts and start the monologue. Hey, good morning. Thanks for being here. My SPY pivot, 624.40. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land, Bob Jordan, everybody who follows and subscribes to my content. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind words. All right, all of the Fab Five still in daily uptrends, even with those red candles we had yesterday. IWM, diamond down, made outside days. That's higher highs and lower lows, closing under bearish crosses, but over their 17 EMAs. FNGU and QQQ made higher lows and higher highs, closing over bullish traps over their 17 EMAs. SPY made a higher high and a higher low, despite being a red candle, closed with a 2-hour downtrend, 10-minute downtrend, closed the daily candle inside a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA. Gold still in an uptrend. Gold made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bullish trap and under its 17 EMA. Silver, which recently made a 12-year high yesterday, a little cool off, higher low and a higher lower low and a lower high. I got to change that. Lower low and a lower high, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. USO in a daily uptrend. USO made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish cross and under the 17 EMA. UNG in a daily downtrend, also in a head and shoulders pattern, made an outside day. That's a higher high and a lower low, closing over a bullish cross and over the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend, closed near the 98.57 area. SPY max pain 622 with a put to call ratio of about 1.28 puts to each call that expires today. All right, let's take a look at some charts. Let's look at 5, TNGX, the movie channel, EYE. All right, let's take a look at those real quick. Let's go to game plan. Let's go to daily chart. We got the daily chart. Let's take a look at FIVE. All right, you can see FIVE got a building a launch pad here, looking for FIVE to. You can see they got up over the base here day before. Yesterday they gave up a little. Still looking for some continuation on this move that we happened not yesterday but the day before. So FIVE in the midst of a breakout or launching from the launch pad they just constructed. All right, let's take a look at TNGX. TNGX got a launch pad being built right through here, right over the bodies of those candles. I'd be looking for a liftoff coming up over the bodies of those candles. That's TNGX. There's the launch pad or the grinder box getting constructed, looking for a launch anytime soon. Let's take a look at the movie channel or TMC. It's not really the movie channel, but TMC still in this consolidation area right through here, looking poised for a breakout. All right, so again, up over this wick up there, nice move in the midst of a breakout, looking for it to come up here, challenge this high right up there, 812, and then shoot for higher highs. All right, so TMC in the midst of building a launch pad, looking for a breakout for TMC. All right, let's go take a look at some charts, and we'll start off with SPY. All right. I'll try it again. All right, SPY, higher low, higher high, closing inside a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA. You can see it all the way up at the top of quadrant 4, holding the higher ground up there. That is a bullish environment. All right, not crazy about the candle, but that is a bullish environment on SPY on the daily chart. 2-hour chart, you can see we got the 3 EMA is now under the 8 EMA. All right, so we have a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. On the 10-minute chart, you can see clearly we have the 3 EMA underneath the 8 EMA. We have a 10-minute downtrend. Okay, so I'm looking for continuation of the downtrend. So another red candle, all right, something that's not a bottoming tail, all right. I don't want anything that's got more tail than body and wick. I don't want a green candle because green candle tells me it's bullish, all right, and that signifies that the bulls have control of that time frame or the price in that candle. So I don't want a green candle. I don't want a doji, and I don't want a spinning top. Okay, so I don't want a spinning top or a little doji like that. Okay, I don't want any of that because that shows me bulls and bears agree on price. I want something that says price is going to move. So I want a red candle. Again, no bottoming tails. All right, showing me that we're at the end of the move, or the bulls have more control of the candle than the bears do. All right, so I'm looking for a continuation of the bearish candle. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. So there's SPY price down here around 622.24 right now. Okay, 10-minute chart on SPY. Back to daily chart. All right, you can see we're still got the weekly chart still in an uptrend. All right. See the 3 on top of the 8, on top of the rising 17. Monthly chart. Okay. See the 3 on top of the 8, on top of a rising 17. All right. So this is looking good right now. We got a monthly uptrend, a weekly uptrend. Look at the daily chart. We got a daily uptrend. We got a 2-hour downtrend. All right. They could repair this. We'll see what happens, what they want to do today. Currently we're at 622.23. It's a possibility we come back. On the game plan, let's take a look at the game plan real quick. Okay, game plan. For the game plan, we have a pivot of 624.40. Above that, I'm a bull. Below that, I'm a bear. Okay, we have a green erases red entry over 626.50. We have a red erases green entry underneath 621.80. All right. So, and if we happen to get a red 10-minute downtrend under VWAP today, and it happens to manifest or originate maybe up here or in here long before it gets to the red erases green entry, I will be likely to trade that 10-minute downtrend in this area or in this area long before it gets to the red erases green entry of 621.80. All right, I like 2 days till expiration Friday options on the multiple of 5. All right, that would be 625, 615, 620. All right, I like the 9 DTE, 9 days till expiration Friday options, again on the multiple of 5. Again, I'm looking at 615, 620, 630. Okay, so I like either one of those options. I'm not against playing or trading 0 DTEs. 0 DTEs offer more, how do I say it, volatility in a 0 DTE. All right, because if you got one of these candles right here, let's just look at it, 623.67, clearly down to 622, actually, yeah, about 622. So that's a $1.50 move. If you've got 10 contracts, 0 DTE in the money, all right, that's well over a $1,500 drop in your portfolio due to being on the wrong side of that, all right? And for that reason, I like to choose $5 to $15 out of the money. Offers a little bit less risk, all right? You're not going to get the performance, but if you want more performance, you get in the money, you get closer to the strike price, and you'll get much better performance if you're looking for that penny for penny move within the SPY to match it up with your option. Okay, now I like 5 to 15 because they offer those have less risk. All right, because they're out of the money. But again, you don't get the performance that you would with an in the money option that's closer to the expiration date. Okay, so just saying that's what I like to trade when I'm in a small account. All right, so there's SPY. You can see pivot 624.40 above, and I'm a bull, below, and I'm a bear. Okay, so they did not break major support down here. Okay, see these wicks? Okay, they didn't get below those, or they did. Maybe they did in the pre-market, but getting below these, I'm expecting price to come all the way to 620, and then on down to test the prior all-time high located at 613.50. All right, so that would be my target, my downside target, the ultimate downside target. Late today if price breaks below 621.80. Okay, so I'd expect to hit 620 613.50 either late today or possibly even tomorrow morning if this 2-hour downtrend continues on moving down. All right, now the bulls may come back in and rescue the price action. Okay, you can see they rescued it here. They rescued it here. We're going to find out if they're going to rescue it here this morning. All right, so that's the SPY game plan. All right, we got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close yesterday, so I'm looking for continuation of that 10-minute downtrend. We'll see what happens. Can they make it all the way back up to the pivot? We'll find out. All right, we'll find out this morning. Okay, now if price happens to chop back and forth across VWAP this morning, all right, 2 or 3 times going up, over, and below it, all right, there's a good chance you're in for a chop day for probably the first 4.5 hours, right up till 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock, and you probably want to stand down because it will do nothing but chop up your account as you're trying to trade and game the breakouts to the range. And so just be careful for that chop that happens back and forth across VWAP. All right, not saying it's going to happen. I think we get a continuation from yesterday's move or a reversal. I'm kind of expecting the bulls, being since major support was not broken right here, the bulls to step in. And you can see they bought it up here also on this pullback. I'm expecting the bulls to step in. I mean, we did make a higher high yesterday. All right, it was a red day. Nothing says the bulls can't step back in and bring price back up over the pivot. We'll see what happens. Again, my favorite trade or my favorite setup is a 10-minute uptrend inside a 2-hour uptrend, inside of a daily uptrend, inside of a weekly uptrend, that's inside of a monthly uptrend, all over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's my favorite setup because then you got the wind in your sails from the 2-hour uptrend and the daily uptrend and the weekly uptrend and the monthly uptrend. So they're just filling your sails with energy to move. All right, so I like that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that's inside those 2-hour uptrend, daily uptrend, weekly uptrend, and monthly uptrend. Okay, that's my favorite setup over the all-time high or the prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, it's a very rare occurrence that you get all of them at the same time. Sometimes you get the 10 and the 2-hour and the daily, but the weekly and monthly are not matched up. Okay, or you'll get the 10 and you won't get the 2-hour, but you'll get the daily and the weekly and the monthly. Okay, I like it when all of them are working together. Okay, good morning. Purple line is a anchored VWAP. Yes, it is. It is anchored on 623 low of day. All right, 623 at 130. That's the anchor for that one. Prior to this bounce up. All right, 623. That currently sits at on the 30-minute chart, because it'll sit at a different spot on each one. But right now on the 30-minute chart, it's sitting at 617.30. All right, so that may be a target later on. We'll see what happens, all right? I'm kind of expecting the bulls to hold the major support up here. We'll see what they want to do, all right? We'll see, all right? SPY, there's the 30-minute. Okay, QQQ's got a game plan as well, all right? QQQ, move it back to the 15, okay? QQQ, pivot, 558.55. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. We got a bearish red erases green event or entry right underneath 556.50. Okay, we got a green erases red entry over 560.25. All right, and then I like the same thing. 2 days till expiration, Friday options on the multiple of 5. Hence, like 560, 565, 555, 550. You guys get the idea. 9 days till expiration, Friday options, because they got a lot more open interest on the multiple of 5. Again, 550, 555, 545. Okay, I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right, as opposed to being in the money. Okay, so 5 to 15, less risk. All right, when you're $5 to $15 out of the money. Okay, now I like 10-minute uptrends on either one, SPY or QQQ over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Okay, either one, SPY or QQQ. Okay, I like them particularly when if they're under the pivot. All right, on the downtrends. I like the uptrends particularly when they're over the pivot. All right, so 10-minute uptrends over the pivot. So if I get, like I said earlier, okay, if I get a 10-minute uptrend that happens to originate or manifest down here, okay, long before it gets to the bullish green erases red entry over 560.25, I will be highly interested in trading it as long as it breaks the rubber band candle, all right, or is up over the pivot, all right? So if it manifests down here, doesn't mean I'm not going to take a bullish trade because it manifested down here as it works its way back up to that bullish entry. Okay, so either way, all right, I'll take the bullish ones. I want to see that rubber band candle break or get up over the pivot, okay, for price action on that 10-minute uptrend. I want it over the pivot or break the rubber band candle, 10-minute downtrend. I want it under the pivot or break the rubber band candle for a move to the downside. So we'll see what happens this morning. So there's QQQ. On the daily chart for QQQ, all right, we've got a, hey, look at this, new all-time high, okay? Doesn't get any better than that, people. All right, new all-time high for QQQ, new all-time high for SPY, okay, didn't know if you knew that, new all-time high. FNGU, all right, FNGU put in a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA, holding the plank up here on the higher ground, okay, so FNGU bullish, look at it at the top of quadrant 4, okay, still in an uptrend. Okay, nothing's broken. Still making higher lows and higher highs. So FNGU, bullish and in an uptrend. QQQ, new all-time high yesterday. Okay, bullish and in an uptrend. SPY, okay, new all-time high yesterday. Bullish and in an uptrend. All right. Okay, let's take a look at IWM. Okay, IWM put in an outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. No longer in the upper third. All right, so they're just neutral. All right, if they were in the upper third, I'd say they're bullish. They're kind of losing it here All right, so they're just neutral at this time. They get into the upper third. All right, see how they're starting to give it up here? Well, maybe they can recapture that this morning. We'll find out. There's IWM, neutral, but still in an uptrend. Okay, see that? It's a kind of testing that 17 there. Okay, got some lows. You can see we got some higher lows. See a couple of lows. We got some higher lows. Got a high and a high. You can see we made a higher high. So still in an uptrend for IWM. Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow holding the plank up here in the upper quadrant 4. Okay, again moving up, moving over to the right, holding the higher ground. Still bullish. Yesterday's candle, I'm going to call it an outside day. Let me see real quick here. High. Let's see what Diamond Dow made. Outside day. Higher high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross. See the 3 EMA crossing underneath the 8, underneath a bearish cross, but over, see the green dots? Those are the 17 EMA, over the 17 EMA, okay? Up over its all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line, or the purple line. Okay, up there, quadrant 4, it's bullish. Again, still in an uptrend. Got some lows. You can see we make a higher low there, and a higher low there, and a higher low there. Okay, now we've got some highs. We've got high here, and we made a higher high. So that's uptrend. Diamond Dow and bullish. Let's take a look at our technicals. First one, T2122. Okay, we found our way out of the buy zone, went airborne almost all the way into the seller's chop zone and spent the day, almost all day in the seller's chop zone, only to wind up at the end of the day inside the sell zone. That's T2122. Let's look at T2123. Okay, still got that bullish gap open right here. If I look at the price action, all right, it's showing me price is moving up and over to the right. That's bullish. All right, it may see some red up here, but that's still bullish, holding that plank up there for all day long. Okay, yesterday. This is T2123 15-minute chart. So still bullish, holding that higher ground up there. Okay, looking like they want to give it up right here with that last red candle. You can see they gapped up yesterday. Yep, they made a new rally high on T2123 15-minute chart. They're still in an uptrend, okay, making say some highs right here, and you can see they're making higher highs, so that's still an uptrend. Let me just check this out real quick, see where that low is. Yeah, now if it gets below this low, they'll be in a 15-minute downtrend. Okay, if they get below this right here. We'll see when the market opens up. They'll be in a 15-minute downtrend. They're still in a daily uptrend and a 2-hour uptrend or a 3-bar uptrend. Okay, so there's T2123. Okay, so still haven't filled this bullish gap right there. All right, that's clue. We're still bullish, holding that higher ground. That's still bullish up over this rising 200 SMA. Still bullish and in an uptrend. T2123 15-minute chart. 3-bar chart. 3 more green candle bars. Again, moving up, holding the higher ground. That's bullish up over the hooking 200 SMA. That's bullish up over these 2 prior all-time high anchored VWAPs right there. This is the all-time high way up here. All right, we'll see if we can get there. I think if we cut through all of this consolidation right through here, all right, new all-time high is going to be had very easily. Just got to cut through all of this consolidation that you can see that we're currently in. You can see where price is right now, and you can see we're dealing with all of this consolidation right through here. All right, so there's T2123 3-bar. Let's take a look at FNGU. FNGU, not a bad day, really. I mean, as far as the market gapping up and giving the whole day up yesterday, here's FNGU's response yesterday is a bullish gap up Notice not filled by the bears, up over the flat 200, and really kind of holding the higher ground for a good part of the day, actually kind of consolidating over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Over the 200 moving up, that's a bullish environment. You can see they were bullish from almost till 3 p.m. and then it looks like they called it a day too early and the bears took over from there. Okay, so that's FNGU. Not a bad chart. We didn't make a higher high yet. All right, we did make the higher low, but we have not made the higher high yet. But that is a nice move in the right direction yesterday. Okay, too bad it couldn't drag SPY up instead of down. So there's FNGU, our FNGU indicator. All right, let's take a look at a few sectors. First sector is, go back to the day, somewhere it says game plan. Yep, that's the one. Take a look at the XLE. All right, XLE, neutral, okay? Not in the upper third, not in the lower third, okay? If they can get in the lower third, that's going to be bearish down here, okay? In the upper third, up here, okay, that's going to be bullish up here, okay? So they're in between the two, all right? So that makes them neutral right there, all right? So price action still making higher lows and higher highs. So that's an uptrend. Closing over downtrend line 1 and downtrend line 2, but underneath the 17 EMA. Okay, so that's kind of neutral right there. Lower high, lower low. Closing underneath, this would be a bearish cross because the 3's crossing underneath the 8 EMA there. Okay, so that's XLE and underneath this 17 EMA. Okay, that's kind of bearish in nature. Again, they got a habit of moving up and giving it up. Okay, you can see they go up, and then they give it up. All right, and it looks like they're kind of going to do the same thing again and give it up. Maybe they make this move later today. We'll see what happens, all right? But they're still in an uptrend because they're making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, so if we zoom out, you can see here's price action, goes down, gives it up, so it's neutral. Okay, it goes up and then gives it up. That makes it neutral. Goes up, gives it up, neutral, goes up. See, just can't hold that. They're having struggles holding that higher ground, and they're having struggles trying to keep price up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so that's XLE. That's our energy sector. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, lower high, lower low, closing underneath, underneath the 17 and underneath a bearish cross. Okay, no longer in the upper third. They were in the upper third a few days ago, not yesterday and not the day before, closing underneath it. Price action is kind of neutral here, okay? Again, doing the same thing, moving up and giving it up, okay? Moving down, all right, and giving it up. Moving down, giving it up, okay? So that's just neutral. Again, not in the upper third. If it was on the upper third, that would be bullish up here, down here. Lower third, that would be bearish, okay? So right in the middle ground here, we're just neutral. Good thing is, good news is still in an uptrend. Okay, we got some lows. Got ourselves a little higher low right here. All right, got ourselves another little higher low there. Another higher low there. Got a high. Okay, making a higher high. That's an uptrend. Okay, if they take out this low right here, right below this line, all right, they'll be in a downtrend making a lower low, okay? So there's USO, all right? Just neutral, but in an uptrend, okay? So it's kind of not ready yet. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG showing us a head and shoulders pattern. Again, this will be these double top right here and here. That's our right shoulder. Double top here, that's our left shoulder, and all of this triple crown up here, That's our head up there, okay? And you can see the neckline right through here. Here's the left neck, right neck, okay? So we're cutting through that right now, okay? So breaking below the neckline is bearish, all right, on that head and shoulders pattern. Okay, so you can see we got lower lows, lower highs. Got another lower high and another lower high, okay? So, and then we got for lows, all right, we got 4 lows right through here, and you can see we got 3 lower lows right there, so that puts it in a downtrend. Okay, so price action for in the lower third, okay? Again, if you're down here in the lower third, down here, okay, this is the bearish territory down there, and they're down there, okay? So let's take a look at the candle for yesterday. Okay, got a outside day. It's a higher high, it's a lower low. They closed over a bullish cross and over the falling 17 EMA. Looks like they're trying to fight off the downtrend and the bearish sentiment because they're in the lower third. So there's UNG for today or yesterday's price action, okay? Still bearish, all right? Still in a downtrend, UNG, okay? If they take out that high, they will negate the downtrend, and they will also negate the bearishness, and they'd have to climb on top of this 18-month high anchored VWAP, okay? If they get all the way back here, in other words, they come down and they give it all up. Again, they'll just be neutral up there. If they get higher than that peak right there, all right, then they can negate the downtrend too. That would certainly help out UNG for the bulls. All right, right now looking like price wants to come down and test these market lows that were made earlier late last year. Okay, so there's UNG. Take a look at a few sectors. SMH. All right, SMH. Look at this new all-time high. Okay, drop the mic. It doesn't get any better than that. All right, unless it was a green candle. Be nice if it was a green candle. All right, I like that it's a small candle and not an exhaustion candle. Okay, good looking chart there, SMH. XLK. All right, XLK got, yeah, you can see it, new all-time high. Again, drop the mic. All right, nothing else to be said. If it's making new all-time highs, it's a good chance it's in an uptrend, and it's a good chance it's bullish, all right? And if it's making new all-time, it's obviously making a new all-time high anchored VWAP, all right? So XLK, bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at XLF. Thank you, Alan. XLF, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish cross, underneath the 17. Still in the upper quadrant. That's still bullish up there. Still has higher highs and higher lows. That's still bullish and in an uptrend. If they take out this low, see this green candle right here, if they take out that low, all right, they'll have themselves a downtrend, all right? Right now, currently in an uptrend, but not moving up. They're moving up and over to the right, okay? So that's XLF. Let's take a look at IYT. Here's transports putting in a lower high and a lower low. Closing underneath the bullish trap over the rising 17, over the all-time, that's the pink line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, up there in the upper third, that's bullish, okay, and in an uptrend right there, IYT. Let's take a look at the economic package. And you can see here's the US dollar. I'll back out. Okay, US dollars in a downtrend. All right, you can see a high up here. And we got a lower high right there. And then a lower high, and a lower high, and a lower high, and a lower high, lower high, lower high. And then we also got lower lows. Okay, so that puts us in a downtrend. Haven't made any higher highs, so that's a downtrend right there. Making lower highs and lower lows. We broke major support, which is, see all the valleys below here. Well, that's major support. Okay, you can see we came back and tested this area and failed to close candles above it and hold the higher ground. Okay, so they had more selling going on. Okay, now we as a consumer we dislike a weak dollar. As investors, we like the weak dollar because it makes our goods and services more competitive overseas or out of the country, maybe Mexico, maybe China. Okay, when we sell our goods and services out of the country, they have to convert their currency to ours. So having a weak currency makes it cost them less of their money, all right, when it's time to convert whatever it is, Canadian dollars to U.S. dollars or Chinese yuan to U.S. dollars, either way, okay? Having a weak currency is great for investors, all right, because it opens up new markets, all right? So that's all good. So U.S. dollar index still in a downtrend. We like that, all right? And underneath, now this would be major support, but we broke through it, so it now becomes minor resistance. All right, SPY max pain for today is 622. That's for the puts and calls that expire today, and we got about 1.28 puts for each call that expires today. All right, on the economic calendar for today, remember CPI was out yesterday. This morning we got PPI final demand 8:30, industrial production 9:15, petroleum report at 10:30, and the beige book at 2. Okay, tomorrow we got jobless claims 8:30, retail sales 8:30, Philly Fed manufacturing index 8:30, import export prices 8:30, business inventories at 10, housing market index 10 o'clock, and a gas report at 10:30 on Friday. Housing starts and permits at 8:30, consumer sentiment at 10, and a rig count at 1, which is pretty normal. All right, so we already passed through the main event this week, which was the CPI. And even though they said on the headlines rising, I'm just going to say, yes, it rose. But it wasn't like leaps and bounds. It just inched or creeped higher, okay? Not much at all, okay? If you looked at the other statistics, we were in line on everything else, and actually on a few of them, we were near the low side of the range, okay? So I think inflation, people may see it as it rose yesterday and therefore I need to sell everything I got. This is a market top. I did not see it that way, okay? You may, and they may see it that way, but I don't see it like that, okay? I think things are still good, all right? I think it just creeped up a little bit. That's what I think, all right? So we'll find out, all right? We'll see. Earnings report, all right? So we got big bank earnings coming in this week. What do we got for today? Johnson & Johnson, $377 billion this morning. Bank of America, $381 billion this morning. All right, they're going to report this morning. ASML Holdings, $315 billion. They're going to report this morning. Morgan Stanley, $238 billion this morning. They're going to report. Goldman Sachs Investment Banking, $216 billion. All right, so Goldman Sachs Investment Banking. Progressive Insurance, $143 billion. Also this morning, Prologis, $101 billion this morning. PNC Financial, $77 billion. Later, going to report later this morning. Okay, on Thursday, what do we got? Taiwan Semiconductors. No time yet. It'll probably be after the market closes. But you can see almost $1.2 trillion, okay, for Taiwan Semiconductor. That's capable of moving the markets. Still don't know if they're going to have the P&L ready in time. Netflix, $500 billion there, $530 billion. All right, so Netflix, $530 billion. That could help move the markets along with the semiconductor, Taiwan Semiconductors. GE Aerospace, $272 billion. They report tomorrow morning. Novartis and Abbott Labs. Novartis is $239 billion. Abbott Labs, $229 billion. We got PepsiCo, $185 billion. They report. Marsh McLellan, $104 billion. Okay, so getting some big market cap reporting this morning. Thursday morning, right there. You can see Netflix is in there, and you can see Taiwan Semiconductor. All right, let's take a look at Friday. American Express, $227 billion in the morning. HDFC, still looking for the P&L. Schwab, $168 billion later in the morning on Friday, or early in the morning on Friday. Okay, 3M Company, $84 billion. Okay, again, some familiar names, but nothing that's really going to move the markets here on Friday. All right, that's it. TSM reports overnight at 1:50 in the morning. Thank you, Jim. All right, so they're going to report 1:50 in the morning. Taiwan Semiconductors. All right. Alan shared something and it says wholesale inflation measure was unchanged in June. All right, because he just gave us the statistics for producer price index for June. It was expected to increase 0.2%. All right, but it was unchanged, so it didn't even get. I guess the range was probably 0 to plus 0.2%. All right, but didn't change at all. Okay, thank you, Ellen. That's some good news. So I wonder if they're going to rally on this. We'll see. All right, let's go take a look at the charts before I head off, and I'll be back in probably 9:20 to open up the markets with you. Let's take a look at SPY and see where we're at. Still at, we jumped up $1. Okay, so you can see here. Let's take the 10-minute chart. All right, so there's that producer price index kind of shared with us right here. All right, so we got a big range today. All right, notice it's going to be difficult to trade the range because it's so wide. All right, probably better off finding the first 15 minutes of price action and trade the breakout of the first 15 minutes. Okay, that could be an exhaustion candle. Who knows? We'll find out. Okay, again, we left off with a 10-minute downtrend, and you can see we have a 10-minute uptrend currently over VWAP this morning in the pre-market. Okay, so looking for that to come back all the way back up to the pivot. Looks like that's their target. We'll see where they want to go, but that's looking good. SPY for the bulls. Nice comeback for the bulls. Okay, that's where VWAP left off yesterday. Okay, I would especially like it if we could get some candles to close on top of 624.40. That would definitely show me some bullish. The bulls are back in town. It seemed like they abandoned us yesterday, but I think if we can close candles up there, that would be very bullish up there. Okay. All right, traders, I'll see you guys at 9:15, 9:20, and we'll open up the markets. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me this morning. Thank you.